Welcome to the Brunel Museum, where we celebrate the Thames Tunnel. It was the first tunnel built under a navigable river anywhere in the world. This grand project was engineer Mark Brunel's idea, and his son Isambard became chief engineer at the age of only 19. The building of the Thames Tunnel revolutionised engineering and continues to affect how we build tunnels today. But why create a tunnel under the Thames? It is hard to imagine now, but in 1825 this was the busiest river in the world, with 13,000 boats passing by every day. With such a packed river, it was said at the time you could cross by stepping from one ship to the other. The height of the tall-masted ships meant bridges were out, so Mark Brunel decided to go underground, building a tunnel stretching from here on the south of the river in Rotherhithe to the north of the river at Wapping. To start tunnelling, the first thing that was needed was a tunnel shaft. So they built this structure above ground and sank it into the earth like a cookie cutter. And when they had trouble getting it to sink, they added more bricks on top to weigh the structure down. And this is the great thing about engineering at the time. They had to constantly adapt to make this grand scheme work. Miners were recruited to start tunnelling, but they needed to be protected from the earth caving in on them. A great shield was built, and it inched forwards painstakingly slowly as the miners dug out the earth and built the brick walls that line the tunnel. As well as Mark's son Isambard, his daughter Sophia was interested in engineering too, and described as Brunel in petticoats. We can wonder what else she might have achieved if she had not lived in Victorian times, where women were barred from any form of higher education. It's amazing that we can visit the shaft today and imagine what it was like for the miners who dug the tunnel all those years ago. Digging the tunnel was a dangerous and tiring job, so the miners could only work in 2-hour shifts. They were showered with Thames water from the beginning to the end of their shift. That wouldn't be pleasant today, but in 1825 the Thames was the biggest open sewer in the world. In 1827, disaster struck. Water came in through the roof, flooding the tunnel. Thankfully no one was killed, but digging had to stop. To block the hole, they dumped huge quantities of bagged clay into the river. But it wasn't long before the river burst in again. This time, 6 men drowned. Isambard, who was in the tunnel at the time, was carried unconscious by a wave of water into the shaft. One of the workers managed to pull him out through this small window, and although he was rescued, it is said he refused to ever return to the site. Finally, in 1843, the Thames Tunnel was complete. It was meant to take 3 years, but ended up taking 18 years to finish. Instead of a practical route across the river, it became a vibrant tourist attraction. On its opening day, there were 50,000 visitors. By the end of the 3rd month, there were 1 million visitors. People came from all over the world to marvel at the novelty of walking under a river. In 1852, it became a spectacular underwater fairground, with sword swallowers, fire eaters, magicians and tightrope walkers performing. One section of the tunnel was decked out as a ballroom, and a steam-powered musical organ played dance tunes under the Thames. But eventually, visitor numbers fell, and the tunnel became a dangerous place frequented by pickpockets and thieves. The tunnel was sold to the railways in the late 1850s, and you can see the black marks of soot on the walls from the Victorian steam trains that used to pass underneath. The shaft is now blocked off from the tunnel, but you can still sometimes hear the trains running beneath us, transporting people and goods just as was intended all those years ago. This place offers an amazing opportunity to travel through history and see one of the most exciting engineering projects in the world.